One, apologies.
Yes, Chairman, Councillor Val Humphreys.
Okay. Number 2, declarations of interest.
No.
And 3, to confirm as correct, record the meetings of council held on the 24th of April 23 at the council chamber, St Richard's House, and they're attached.
They were the last of the last administration.
I'm happy to propose those as correct.
Thank you.
happy to second.
Thank you. And all in favour, please? Thank you.
Anyone against?
Is any against?
Any abstentions?
Oh, I wasn't there, so.
I wasn't present.
So 3. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So item 4.
Yeah. Item 4, to confirm as a correct record of the meetings of the extraordinary meeting of council held on the 15th of May 23 at the Community Hall to confer honorary alderman status upon ex-councillor Mr Edgar Harwood.
Councillor Sinton.
Councillor Sinton, sorry,
Happy to propose.
you propose. And second, please.
Councillor Brooks.
Mr Brooks. And all in favour, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, item 5, to confirm as correct record the minutes of the annual council meeting held on the 15th of May 23 at the Community Hall. So
I'm happy to propose that. That's correct.
thank you, Councillor Duffy. And to second, please. Councillor Sinton. I was looking over there.
Sorry.
Sorry. And all in favour, please. Thank you.
Thank you. So item 6 is mayor's announcements. No.
Right, well, we had a busy year. On a light note, we've dealt with the elections, and I'd like to welcome all the new council members. Thank you for attending. I was going to name you, but do you need me to? You know who you are, don't you? Right, okay. My thanks, first of all, go to George Duffy for giving me the opportunity of a taster of what was to come in my mayoral year. And I've really enjoyed the garden parties. I enjoyed visiting the Westlands on occasion with you. St Richard's Festival, which was very good, we've heard from lots of people. Helped opening the charter markets, and I've visited the Droitwich Fire Cadets, which was really interesting, and joined in the Christmas light celebrations. I'd like to extend my thanks to all my council colleagues who have offered me their guidance and help over the past 4 years. Thank you very much. My thanks also go to Alex Sinton for all your help and guidance. I've learned a lot from you, Alex, but I suppose, like we do. And thank you for accepting your role as Deputy Mayor. I sincerely wish you all the best. Moving forward, I presently presented fire cadets certificates, air cadets certificates, visited to Ledbury Sustainable Coffee Morning for their Big Green Week on Tuesday. That was really good. I've joined the small business meetings for the high street traders. I've joined the CVS networking meetings, which again are very interesting. I've even become a bereavement counsellor, would you believe, with, I think it's called Vincent de Paul, but it's not really religious. I'll explain that another day. And I've also joined the Droitwich Youth Group, where my passion lies. Coming up now, currently we have the Food Festival, which is on Saturday. I'm with the Mayor of Worcester at his civic events, Guildhall and the Cathedral on Sunday. And then for the very first time, folks, and this is the truth, I didn't know this, the Hanbury Country Show have extended their invitation to me, and they said it's the first time we've ever had a mayor at this event. So I thought it was very nice. And they're celebrating 76 years in the business, so I'm very chuffed about that. Obviously more so in Droitwich, but I'm very chuffed about that. So that's about it really. I've still got the 3 counties Shire Jam. Is anybody familiar with that? And Dover's Peace and the Norbury Whimsical Theatre Group. So I think we're in for that's just a few of the engagements. So it's going to be a busy time. So that's all I've got to say on it really. Thank you very much. Okay, back to business. Right, so I think we need to welcome our very new Sergeant Catherine Atkinson, is it? Atkinson. Welcome.
Thank you.
So this was following Sergeant Sarah Kent in April 23, and we'll receive a report on policing matters in Droitwich. So,
Just to say, Chairman, on that, the report from Catherine was received on Friday. It's gone out to all members on Friday morning. So the summary, no questions and answers afterwards.
so there you are.
Thank you so much.
You are.
So I've been working in Droitwich now probably for about 7 weeks. When I've joined the team, are very, very good. So I'm very happy to be here. So the report is just based on obviously because I'm very new to the role, just my experiences of what I've seen and also feedback from the team as well to our current issues. But the first one, which you'll probably all be aware of, is we've got obviously an issue, not only in Droitwich, seems to be a general issue, but with graffiti. So that's normally on people's, what we've had some on people's walls, fencing, and a lot of it on the underpasses. It seems to be potentially from one particular group of youths, where they're writing 3HB crew. So that's obviously something that we're monitoring at the moment, and we're increased our patrols, and we've been thankful that we've been given a was it an Instagram? Was it yeah, so we're actually doing some trying to think what website it was from.
That's Instagram, it's the social account.
Yeah, so we're actually doing some work with that at the moment, so we sent that off to our high-tech crime unit to see if there's something that they can do with regards to seeing who that belongs to. So we're still waiting for those results to come back. But additionally to that, we've been going to schools, particularly high school, to see if they're aware of anything, and obviously the kids talk, teachers might be able to pick up on it. So we have been engaging with the schools to see if there's anything that they know. And also as well, we're going to be teaming up with the outreach workers, which work with the youth, and we're going to go and do some patrols with them so we can engage with some of the youths as well to see if we can ID who's been doing this, or at least trying to stop it occurring again. So that's with regards to that. Also, so I'll be liaising with special constables just to see if we can get some further resources. Obviously, at the moment, we're just a very small team, so it's just engaging with other officers, our patrol officers, special officers, to see if they can target our hotspot areas, so where the underpasses and where the graffiti is happening. Burglaries, I'm happy to say, I've been monitoring the burglaries since they've been here. There has seemed to be a decrease in our burglaries. Obviously, during the winter months, they seem to increase. But at the moment, we've actually been seeing a decrease in burglaries. We have had several car key burglaries. The most recent being the 28th, no, sorry, the last one was the 28th of May. Although some people were actually arrested for that. So there seems to be a decrease in our car key burglaries at the moment, unless anyone else has heard otherwise. and we've been successful in getting some of the stolen vehicles back by monitoring the trackers. Also, we've had some units targeted at the Berry Hill Industrial Estate. Things like tools, etc., have been taken from there. But every time there's a burglary, we have our local teams which go out. So we have our designated crime officer that goes out. Obviously, he provides reassurance along with the S&T team. We look at security, how we can improve it. So there's, and obviously they get smart walls and things like that. So there are things that are done for any sort of burglaries. That's house burglaries as well as obviously offices and commercial buildings. We do the community surgeries at Brookridge Library. So we have a PCSO that's, oh no, sorry, no, this is a different one. No, yeah, so we do the Brookridge Spa Library drop-ins and the Westlands Community Centre one has ceased because apparently the attendance wasn't very good there and just no one was turned up to that one. Although our PCSO is regularly in the Westlands, so she obviously liaises with the community anyway, doing her patrols, and obviously she goes into the schools. So she's still liaison with the community, but just not at the community centre. Any of our drop-ins are then advertised normally on our neighbourhood matters and social media pages. So local residents should be aware of when we do drop-in sessions. ASB, so youths gaining access to the Weyburn, did seem to have got better, but I know over the last couple of weeks it was obviously secured and the youth have gained access again. Hasn't been as bad here as it normally is, but they have obviously gained access again in the building and on the roof. We have obviously been trying to patrol that area, but it's really difficult for us to actually go in. But it's not as bad as it normally is. Like I said, we haven't had a lot of reports coming for that one. ASB in the town is sporadic. If we get ASB, it's normally around Morrison's, Waitrose and Boots, and that's usually youths, which are responsible. But also as well, reports aren't always being made to us, so we're not always aware of the extent of the ASB. So it's just I encourage people to, if it is an ASB in the area, they can just call us and make us aware so we know what the issues are. And then potentially we can get CCTV and try to identify those responsible. Those that we have had issues with that we know about have had antisocial behaviour letters, what we call the CPNs, and then we've got some CBOs as well, which are most prolific. We're constantly patrolling the area as a deterrent. And it's also been mentioned to me recently about the Cockwood Park. Apparently there's new ASB there, so that's obviously one which we're going to start addressing and patrolling. I think there's damage being caused to trees, etc., which is on that park, and just being a nuisance. I've obviously put in place that we're keen to work with other agencies, so we can do problem-solving approaches. So we're actually tomorrow doing a walk around, so we then, with housing and other agencies, we go out and walk around the community, speak to residents to get their concerns, and if there are any issues in their area. Yeah, so obviously ASB seems to increase during summer holidays, so that's obviously something I'm looking at the moment. Starting to think about dispersal orders and start getting those in place. So if we have any issues with any youths, particularly in parks, open areas, we can then issue these dispersal orders, which means they have to leave the area within straight away, and they can't return within 48 hours. And if they do, obviously it's an arrestable offence. And then obviously we're looking to increase our patrols during that time as well. Thefts, we're obviously still getting thefts in the town. Recently we have dealt with 3. Last week we managed to actually catch 3 So 3 of them have been dealt with, arrested and been dealt with for the thefts. Thankfully, the police officers just came across it, so we managed to do that. And then there was some handbag thefts. That was on the 2nd of June, but there's been no issues since. 2 elderly females had their handbags stolen in Morrison's. That's the early stages of an investigation at the moment, but thankfully there's been no other incidents. We've had some diesel thefts on HGVs, which took place overnight, and that's at the Berry Hill estate. But we arrested some people for that, and there hasn't been any other issues. So thankfully we've got the right people and can stop that. One of the big things is speeding, still remains an issue, particularly on the dual carriageway leading to the Big Bear. We've had lots of complaints about vehicle speeding and residents have become concerned. So that's something obviously we're looking into, looking to do a speeding operation so we can target those areas with some of our road policing officers. All our team are trained on the Pro Laser, so they go out, police officers tend to do a survey to see if there's any issues in that area, and then our PCs also do that, and if they catch anyone speeding, they will deal with them there and then for obviously speeding. Some of the antisocial behaviour from the boy racers are ones which are travelling around, so some of them are from West Mids, which are coming in, or they're all from Worcestershire, but they tend to move around quite a lot, so that at the moment is very sporadic. So we can't say that they're here every Friday causing issues, because they may have been a lot of the time in Worcester, and it's like if they get moved off from Worcester, they might come into Droitwich. So we're just trying to gather some intelligence on that to see if we can do some sort of targeted patrols for that. And then recently we've been doing something called Op Sector. Ever so often we do different operations. Op Sector is a common one which we do, and that's addressing knife crime. So we did do some stop searches for that during that week of Op Sector. We were at the train station, we were able to get some intelligence from there, and we are arranging out another operation with BTP, the train services, obviously police as a joint approach, because we've had some increased antisocial behaviour as well at the train station overnight where things have been damaged. So we're looking to address that by doing some extra patrols there and some operations to address those issues. And that is pretty much the full report.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Any questions? Sorry.
Thank you. Just wanted to say it's great to hear you've been able to sort of jump in so quickly, even if the work list is a bit longer than I'm sure others would like to hear. But I'm very glad as well to hear that there is some leads and some progress on the growing prolificness of the graffiti and vandalism, especially around the west side of town. So I look forward to hearing the results of the Instagram page that was found.
Thank you.
Councillor Morris.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and welcome, Sergeant Atkinson.
Thank you.
You'll find Droitwich a great community, so I know that. I've got 3 points, if I may. The first one you did mention, and thank you for the full report, is car theft. And I've met a few people that have unfortunately suffered from car theft over the recent months, and it's a very hard crime. In each instance, they said that individuals gained access from either the back or the side doors to the premises. So that sort of gives some context and intelligence that they've been watching the house and learned behaviour to know that. In each instance, they say that the car's been held somewhere within the hallway as well. So where we're getting to is, can we give some advice to residents? So, poster or a booklet, communication through the paper, something that tells them not to have a routine behaviour and to hide away
Yes,
some of the access. And if they have people to the door, to ask for get confirmation of who the person is and said, well, I know it's so obvious, but those things obviously go missing when
It's things like
before
how
it
to
comes
store
out.
your car keys and things like that,
Yeah.
which are always very useful because they don't always necessarily have the car keys in their hand. There are scan devices which obviously they can use whilst the keys are in the property, because a lot of people may have their keys by their front door or something like that. So we certainly can put something out social media. There are things obviously we have done previously, but
I appreciate that.
we can put another update
It's
on there.
repeat,
So,
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, so no, we can definitely do that.
I have to say in each instance, they've said how good the police were, how good they were at responding
Yeah.
and tracking where they could their cars as well.
Yeah, when it comes to cars, it's a little bit easier if there's a burglary because obviously we have a registration. So then we can obviously have the ANPR cameras, we have our intelligence 524, which are constantly on it, monitoring the ANPR system to see where they've activated, and then obviously our patrols then can obviously go and they have an idea of where the location is. So we have been successful in obviously tracking down some of these vehicles, but we can certainly put something out for security advice. And if anyone is a victim, we do have our design out crime officers that go out specific to the victim and to the neighbours to give them some advice. But we can put a generic message out, which
I think that would be really helpful, and thank you for the speed of response, because that reassures us as well.
yeah,
The second point is one I just had a brief prior chat with you about, and that is, can we open up the counter, the reception for the police station? And I know that's incredibly difficult because I know you've got limited resources, so I wouldn't want it to be police people, but could we support with volunteers to do that? I just think it would lessen the barrier and the gap between the police and community if we could have that access back. I know it's a big ask, but can we
it
see
would be
what can be
lovely
done?
to have. I would obviously have to come back to you on that one. Go and find out, because we are struggling, as I've mentioned before, we are struggling with monitoring our front counters. Droitwich is not the only one. Our main stations as well are obviously struggling to have counter clocks. So I can find out the answer and I can get back to you on that one to see if that's doable.
But if need be, I'm sure that as councillors, we could put a call out to try and get volunteers to help or people to support. I know they would have to be checked and so on.
Yeah. I can certainly say potentially.
I think it's what the community would like.
Yes,
to see.
definitely, of course, no, totally understand.
And my third one, and I think this is pretty much a yes, is can we share your report with people in the town that you've written?
Yeah, there's nothing in there which is confidential, so there's no names or anything. So.
But again, I think that's reassurance because people do see the antisocial behaviour, they do see the burglaries, and they just want action.
Yeah, no, of course, that's fine.
Yeah,
And
excellent.
they're more than welcome to come down and have a chat with me. They just ring the doorbell until we have someone potentially. So
Brilliant.
no, that's fine.
Thank you.
Councillor Bush, please.
Thank you, and again, welcome
Thank
to
you.
your new role here. I'd just like to raise the issue of e-bikes now, privately owned e-bikes, e-scooters. I seem to be seeing a lot more of them in and around Droitwich quite recently. And I think I've identified one of the issues here, and that is many people are just simply not aware of the law. Because in fact, I had a very irate gentleman contacted me because the police had confiscated an e-scooter being ridden by his son. And I had to explain, well, I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
the law is not what you thought it was.
Yeah.
And I think it would make it be beneficial if we could get some sort of proper campaign out there to tell people the score about what they can and can't do and where things are. So if you could perhaps take that up on our behalf, I'd be very grateful.
I can see where the confusion comes from, because obviously there are areas which do have them, which do allow for them. But obviously that's only specific areas, and obviously which isn't one of those.
But if you can, because I've certainly seen more of them. And again, as Councillor Morris said a few minutes ago, we certainly help with anything on social media outlets or looking for volunteers or whatever it was. We'd certainly do our best to put this on.
Brilliant, yeah, that's so we can put that in.
Thank you.
Councillor Davison, please.
Yeah, again, welcome to Droitwich. They added the start bit later. I don't know who did that. This is my opportunity to question the police officer. Thanks very much. I do get emails through Action Fraud Alert that advise me of the drop-in sessions.
Yes.
But they always come the day before the session. And I sometimes think I'd like to pass these messages on to somebody else who might want to go, but it's too late to do so.
Yeah.
Is it possible to have advance earlier notice?
Yes, that's fine. The PCS though, that does the drop-in session, she's part-time, so that's probably why it comes when she's in, so it's probably quite late, but we can certainly find out when she's doing them and potentially put out a few dates out, maybe ahead of schedule, so she know, obviously everyone's aware of what weeks she's going to be. Yes, that's absolutely fine, we can sort that out.
Thanks.
Any other? No? Okay, thank you. So just go to housekeeping.
So I can explain, Chairman.
Yeah.
So part B on the policing was just to reprioritise the local policing charter. This is deferred from April because of the change in administration. And we're asked as a council to choose 3 from the list that's been circulated in the pack, 3 areas. We previously had speeding, antisocial behaviour and measures towards controlling drug activity. They've been established really as the town council's priorities over the last probably 2 years, I think, 18 months to 24 months. So with us having the opportunity, Catherine, here this evening, it seems appropriate to reprioritise that with the new council meeting this evening as well. And then they're not the only 3 items, but they are the main ones that we will get updates on from the Safer Neighbourhoods team.
Any questions on that, please? Councillor Simpson?
Yes, thank you. Just to again, welcome. I worry slightly about getting rid of one of these 3 items because it might reflect on us. If we say, oh, we don't want drugs there, it's like the town council saying, oh, we don't think there's a drugs problem. But one of the things you didn't mention in your report, and this is very thorough, thank you very much, was were there any drug problems. And the thing you did mention at great length, which we were all worried about, was the graffiti. I just wondered what your feeling is about any potential drugs problem within our town.
Like everywhere, we have drugs in Broadridge, and we will have people obviously taking drugs, we will have people which are dealing drugs. Thankfully, it's not something that has been raised as a major issue, although it's obvious that's going to be going on, but we probably need to do a bit more digging into which areas are more of a concern. Certainly it goes on, I'm not saying it doesn't, although it's not, I wouldn't say it's not too bad. Well, certainly people aren't reporting it anyway. So if there are issues, if people see anything suspicious, particularly in the parks or anything like that, they will also need to report it, but we don't get a lot of reports, but certainly it will be obviously occurring. But I don't know too much information. I would have to check with the team to see what information they have about it.
Councillor Duffy, sorry.
Thank you. Would, obviously graffiti, as Councillor Simpson has said, is quite on the rise and it can really damage an area, make an area feel really unsafe. Would you say that would come under more antisocial behaviour or criminal damage?
The graffiti, I would say it comes under criminal damage and antisocial behaviour. So it comes into graffiti is actually causing damage, so it's criminal damage, but it could come under the umbrella of antisocial behaviour as well. So if we say ASB, we could then include the graffiti as well underneath that umbrella. But really, if that is occurring, we would have to put a crime in for criminal damage because it is an offence. So if you wanted to keep ASB, it could fall under that. We could do graffiti with ASB.
I do think that's quite sensible, as I think it's the antisocial behaviour and the vision of antisocial behaviour that graffiti can cause that I think really does disturb residents in the town.
Yeah.
I do feel, hopefully all will agree, that antisocial behaviour needs to be more top of our top three rather than second.
It would also include DSTC, maybe cannabis usage and things like that, even though obviously that's drugs, but it's still going to be properly used, which are causing issues, which then linked to the criminal damage and linked to drugs as well. So it could include all that.
That does lead nicely onto the experience I tend to have more talking to residents, that it's rather than the drug usage, it tends to be the antisocial behaviour around the drug usage, whether it's worrying activity late in the evenings or large crowds of people sort of making areas feel unapproachable to people.
Thank you, councillor Duffy. Councillor Morris, please.
Thank you. I think our three priorities are right, to be honest. And I actually think the drugs, well, a lot of them can be interrelated, can't they? And the drugs can fuel the theft. Yeah, so I would say that the three we've got are still good in my view.
Thank you. Councillor France, please.
It was just to bring up about littering, really. I mean, I know it's not quite as serious as drugs, but it's obviously a major sort of problem constantly blighting everybody, that we have littering going on, as well as, what do you call it, when people dump all the stuff lighting as well. And I'm not saying it does take precedence over the three there, because they're very good, I'm not going to deny that, but obviously it would just be good to sort of see how we potentially as a council or the police are going to maybe move littering up a little bit in the agenda to sort of try and crack down on it, because it's frustrating for the Droitwich Litter squad are doing a fantastic job, but it is a constant job for them, and every time they seem to do a great job on tackle and stretch, it doesn't take 2 seconds before it's back to being really bad again. So just thought I'd make that point more than anything else.
Thank you, councillor France. Anyone else? Any other issues?
Well, just to say, I take that point completely, actually. I think you're right. I mean, with so many issues, we can't get, this is the priorities, well, three main ones, isn't it? And it's like the traffic one, the speeding one. We also get a lot of complaints about parking, people parking on pavements, the situation around the town, your area, around Central, around the station. There's that aspect as well. We could go on forever. We could actually find more and more. But like you say, Richard, so I think the three we've got there are fine. We mustn't forget the litter, we mustn't forget the parking. But if those are the three priorities, I'm happy with them as well. But we mustn't forget the others.
Thank you, councillor Singleton. Councillor Duffy.
If I could come back as well, would parking or dangerous parking fall under antisocial driving?
We don't deal with all parking issues. The only parking issues that we will deal with is if it's causing a dangerous position or causing obstruction. They're the only reasons why we deal with it. Obviously, then you have the people to deal with. We can't get tickets out of parking. We can only deal with it if it is in a dangerous position or if it's causing obstruction. And then we can deal with it then. But obviously, we do have people around the town which obviously deal with parking. So jointly we can do something, but it's normally if it's in a bad
Causing immediate danger.
Yeah.
Well, if members would support, I would quite like to move antisocial behaviour up to the top spot on our top three community issues. As it stands, if anyone's got the report in front of them, it's in the order of drugs, then antisocial behaviour, then speeding. Whereas I tend to get a lot more issues from residents around antisocial behaviour and speeding first. I think especially speeding along the dual track towards the Big Bear industrial estate, something we thought we were rid of, but seems to be coming back quite unfortunately.
Yeah.
If members would be willing to support, would we need a motion for that?
We would. Chairman, did you want to just take a final point from
Yes,
Councillor
thank you,
Davidson?
councillor Duffy.
And I'll
Councillor
take
Davidson.
that to propose.
Sorry, just that in Droitwich Central, sometimes parking partly on the pavement is essential, or else it'd be causing an obstruction in a narrow street. And sometimes the pavements are wider than the street almost. So you can't just sort of say, like the government were thinking of banning parking on pavement totally. Sometimes it's essential that you do so, depending on where you live, as long as you're not blocking wheelchairs and prams and so on.
Thank you very much.
Just take any final points before Councillor Duffy's proposal.
Councillor
Just to say, I
Morris,
think,
sorry.
I think it's fine as drugs and antisocial behaviour speeding. I think there's nuances where drugs and antisocial behaviour can be linked in some instances. You could play around with them. I just think at the end of the day, drugs can feed into burglaries, can feed into antisocial behaviour, and it's something that can get out of hand unless we really control it effectively.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Morris.
So, Chairman, but the proposal from Councillor Duffy
Yeah.
was to maintain those three areas, but rank them in the order ASB, speed and drugs.
Yeah.
So that's the proposal. We need a seconder and then all in favour.
Yeah. The seconder,
Councillor Davidson
Councillor Davidson,
and all in favour.
and all in favour, please. Thank you.
Any against or any abstentions?
I'll abstain because I think drugs is right at the top. But
I quite agree.
Thank you.
Okay, so 2 abstentions.
We'll note that.
Thank you. That's it. Please. Thanks, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Davidson. It's very nice to meet you. On behalf of us all, I'm sure.
Do I get a copy of the notes as well?
I can send them to you.
Thank you.
Chairman, the high school senior team are here, they're outside, so if you just bear with me.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe not. Just one moment. So I'd like to welcome the team from the high school. Thank you very much for coming this evening. And would you like to give us an update of what we need to know? Thank you.
All right, hello everyone. We're 3/4 of the head student team. Myself, Gabe, and Ruben, who can be here today, the head students, and then George and Brandon, the deputy head students. A few of you might remember Harriet, Amy, Owen, and George from last year, the previous deputy head student team. We're here to kind of take over from them down at Trowbridge Spa High. We know we've got big shoes to fill and a lot to live up to there, but we've already put together our own sixth form council. We managed to get 35 applicants, which is the third of the year as well, the highest turnout that yet. We put them through a rigorous application process to make sure we have the best and brightest of the year, so that we can live up to the high bar that's been set by previous councils. It's going to involve a media department who will look after the school social medias and promote various events, entertainment and fundraising who promote all who organise all the events at the school runs to raise money for the sixth form, various charities. Finance will help us raise money for prom and improve the sixth form, and then student welfare will help with student mental health and lower school integration between sixth form and year 8 to 11. So, Brandon, if you'd like to say a little bit more about what's going on in the school at the minute.
Yeah, so we're nearing the end of the academic year, so the exam season is well and truly kicked in. The year 13s are nearing the end of their A-levels, and the year 11s have finished their final exam today, so they're off from high school now. Our own exams for our entry to year 12 kick on Friday, running all the way through to next week. And then, because obviously it's a very busy, challenging period for us all, we've created a really, really quiet study centre for everyone to come and revise. And then we even invited some year 11s to come up to our sixth form and revise, because we too know how challenging GCSEs were as we did them last year.
Yeah, so recently it's been very busy with the exam season and everything, but we've set up a few ideas in the pipeline. So recently we've collaborated with the year 13s to help sort of prom. This we went on the year 12s and 13s, basically have a great time at their prom and celebrate all the exams and everything they've done, all the celebrations. And then we've also had the sports day, and if the weather stays like it is at the moment, it should be a fantastic day for everyone. And next week we have the transition week coming up for all the year 11s. This will be where like they have a taster week at the sixth form, to basically like to find out what the life's like as a sixth former, where we all and Ruva be helping to make sure they feel welcomed at the sixth form, and also just to make sure they want to stay at our sixth form studying for the next two academic years. And speaking of the year 11s, as it was their last day today, we created like a short little music video where the teachers had to basically sing along and do some questionable lip syncing and dancing to the song School's Out for Summer, which all the students loved today in the assembly. They were laughing in hysterics. So that was just great. That's just a few of the things we've done already and are going to do for the future as a student council.
Thank you. You sound very creative, and we're very proud of you. It's so nice to see that you encourage all the help and everything that you give to other students and work on their behalf and speak on their behalf. So I'm sure everybody will agree with me that, you know, you're fantastic, and thank you very much. Did anyone else want to add anything to that? Councillor Duffy, please.
Just also to say thank you again for the update. It sounds like Councillor Fellows has said, it sounds like a very creative approach forward, but also a very democratic approach in getting students involved. And it sounds like that's working really well to get a lot of students involved in a lot of areas of the sixth form in the school.
Yeah. Anyone else? But yeah, we look forward to seeing your next forecast, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
So do I just?
Yeah.
Yes, so thank you very much indeed, and thank you for coming and for your time. Thank you.
Good luck in your exams.
Yes. So,
Item 9, Chairman, there's no update from the Youth Council, so this evening, so we can go straight on to number 10.
okay,
I can take that.
yes,
So item 10 is as circulated. It was covered at the Resources Committee last Monday evening, but anything that it appears on the AGAR, the annual return, has to also be ratified through full council. So that is repeated last Monday. Full details were circulated for Resources and for full council. If there was any questions or any other points, take those.
has anyone got any questions on that one, please?
So it was just to note.
Councillor Duffy?
So I was going to propose acceptance if we need it. It's just a note.
It's been covered on Resources, so it's just to note that it will be endorsed with the acceptance of the Resources Committee. And it's laid down on the agenda. Thank you.
Okay. So, number 11, the governance statement to receive and approve the Town Council's annual governance statement made as part of the annual return report for year ending the 31st of March 23.
Thank you, Chairman. So the governance statement is essentially the checks undertaken by the internal auditor. It's signed off by Kevin, and that is part of the pack that's gone out. It's that page. That forms part of the annual accounts that then go to the external auditor and are published on public rights with effect from next Monday for the statutory period.
Okay.
So I will need a proposer, seconder, and all in favour on that one, please.
So can we have a proposal on that one, please?
Happy to propose, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. And seconder, please.
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. And all in favour, please. Thank you.
Thank you. So item 12,
Yeah.
Chairman, the next one, that's the other portion of the return that goes for the external auditor. So that is the annual accounts. Again, they're presented. That is the summary sheet that they will be published next Monday, and they have been signed off by the internal auditor in the same way as the government statement. If there's any questions, I'd like to take those.
Happy to take any questions? None?
So simply propose, second, all
Yeah.
in favour, please.
Propose, please. Proposer, thank you, Councillor Brooks. And seconder, please. Councillor Duffy. And all in favour, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, so 13, neighbourhood development plan project report to receive an update report from Councillor G. Brooks in his capacity as the designated town council member with responsibility for the project, including communications and liaison and the steering group. The previous report was included as part of full council on the 24th of April 23. So,
Yes, Chairman, and the report was circulated on Friday morning last week. I think Councillor Brooks has just got a summary of that this evening.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yes, as Carl said, the full report's been circulated, and I've no intention of doing that. But just to give you a little overview and an update, we had a group meeting, steering group meeting on Wednesday last week, and we got some very good contributions and engagement from all the people attending. And so the result is that the progress with the project overall is being maintained to plan. We're on course, and the next steps and key points, I'll just go through those, that will be part of the agenda for the July steering group. Firstly, the communication strategy. Again, we need to populate the full list of consultee groups and local organisations, and then that will then enable the final publication on the Town Council website and form the basis of additional evidence gathering to align with residents and business and commerce questionnaires, which we will have around sort of September time. So it's a long iterative process, but it is on course. We'll also, at the next meeting, have a full overview report and collated analysis of the initial questionnaire. As you remember, we had a town meeting and the first questionnaires went ahead, and we'll get a full collated analysis of this from the consultant. So he's having to burn a bit of midnight oil to get that done for us. And from that also, we will have initial drafted residents and business and commerce questionnaires. Half the difficulty with coming up with something like this is actually asking the right questions. So a lot of work to be done on that. And again, the consultant is working on that, and we'll review that as a steering group. And both these questionnaires are scheduled for public release in September. So again, it's all very much on course. We're also having some more engagement and input with the Whichever District Council Place Board to support the business and commercial questionnaire process. And also, I'm pleased to say as well, we're going to engage with the local traders group. I'm not sure if they've actually got a formal name yet, but Councillor Moss has been setting up.
Drummond Business Association, DBA.
Okay. We'll also be engaging with them again for their input, so to make sure we've got as many views as possible represented. And basically, that's where we are. We're on course, we're on track, and I'm very pleased to say that it should all come together.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks.
Just any questions on?
Any questions at all? Councillor Dudley?
Not so much a question, but just a commendation of the meeting. I think it was a very well structured meeting, and it was, as Councillor Brooks says, a lot of time with questionnaires, it is about asking the right questions and about making sure the information gathered is specific and of good value to the overall aims of a questionnaire. And it seemed like the professional in the room was very well aware of this. So I look forward to his drafted questions, but also of seeing how the very well engaged group of volunteers will feed into those questions and will help really narrow down the information that we want to see out of these surveys.
Thank you, Lucas.
I just thank Councillor for those remarks, and just again emphasise it. We are getting very positive meetings, everybody collaborating to get the best result for our town. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other matters? Any other questions? No?
Just for noting that, Chairman, thank you.
Okay. Christmas lighting, the procurement of.
Thank you, Chairman. So we are in open session, so this was simply to ratify the recommendations of, firstly, the working group, because it was delegation to a working group that met on the 5th of June, and also the recommendations to a Community and Amenities Committee, which were last week. Because it's a contract, it has to be then further ratified through full council. So it's simply just to do that as discussed last week. So I will just need to propose a second and all in favour.
You should pre-empt me. Proposal, please.
As I'd chaired the meeting, and I think that the results we had out of that meeting were very excellent, and I think showed a clear preference and a clear winner in that one. So I'd be quite happy to propose that.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Have a second, please. Thank you, Councillor Pope.
Yes, I was at that meeting as well, so I thought I may as well second that.
Thank you.
And
all in favour, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any abstentions or? Okay.
Thank you very much. All right, number 15, to receive and consider the minutes of the under-mentioned meetings, which is the planning committee, of the 12th of June 23.
These were the three, Chairman, from last Monday
Yeah.
evening, so it's all three initial committees for this administration, all last Monday evening. They've all gone out to members last week, so if everybody's happy with those. We could do them on block, and it would just be a proposed second and all in
Yeah.
favour.
So do we have a, thank you, councillor Brooks.
If you're
Seconder,
happy to propose on block.
thank you. Oh, okay, thank you. Seconder. Thank you. I've got new names to look at now, but I must go to Specsavers.
Yeah.
Clemens, thank you very much.
And all in
And all in favour, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, so number 16, we've got the full private limited broadband operators to consider the following motion and rationale put forward by Councillor R.J. Morris. Shall I hand us over to your capable hands, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm sure, as all councillors, you've been bombarded from residents with questions and issues about full fibre, in particular with the poles, sighting of the poles, road mark, pathway markings, different colours, and so forth. Checking it out, we all know that we've been told there's no planning reason why the poles can be stopped and broadband, and fully accept some people want it to happen as well. But it is causing distress to a number of residents in our community. And I actually think it's the lack of information and the lack of knowledge. So what I'm calling for is a public meeting that we support to try and ensure that there's a clarity of communication. I'm not trying to build up hopes. I think residents will understand that we cannot change the decision that the poles will be going up. But there's the background context to it of why it's poles, why it's not underground, where they're going in Droitwich, why they've chosen particular sites, what colours they may see on their pathways, how long it takes, what engagement there can be in terms of ensuring it doesn't happen in front of their house, or and all those matters. So what I'm proposing is a public meeting where full fibre come along, county council, who have an understanding of the role, district council as the planning authority, and we get them to explain the situation clearly to residents that turn up, and then open for Q&A. Now, I know in the room there will probably be a lot of negativity, but I think to inform is better than not to inform, and to engage is better than not to engage. So my proposal is to have a public meeting. So I seek approval for that. I'm not going to go through the reading of it, you can read it. But that's the context to it.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. Do you want me to say something?
That's all noted, Chairman, and I think Councillor Sinton was going to speak
Yes.
and second the motion.
Yes, I'm very much echo everything that Councillor Morris has said. It's quite surprising this sort of landed on us, and I was quite amazed when I actually read on the internet what was going on, what these people were doing. And it's a shame that we found out about that. I think as councillors and as a council, whichever part of the councils we're on, whichever we're on, county or district or town, we should have known about it. It seems to be actually thrust upon people without any previous knowledge. And it has, like you rightly say, caused quite a lot of distress to people. I'm sure many of us will actually welcome it when it actually happens, and the idea of having this massive super fast broadband sounds fantastic, but we really should have known about it. And I completely support what Councillor Morris has said, and will second the motion that we should call a public meeting with the relevant stakeholders.
Thank you, Councillor Sinton. Anyone else? Councillor Price?
I think this has been thrust onto residents in a really quite despicable way, really. And this comes direct from UK government. And I think we should be sounding our displeasure at the government in forcing this on residents when they should have been devolving it down to the district level in order to give the district councils a chance to sort of talk to residents and make them understand, and for residents to actually come forward and say, we want this. That should have been the better way of going forward with this. And I would ask the council that maybe we should have some sort of statements that we send to our MP or direct to the departments in the government to say that this is wrong what they've done and they need to change the planning policy around this.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No, I think I agree with everything so far,
Yeah.
except I think we should publicise what happens after the meeting, what the information that we get, because the people that are likely to come to the meeting are the people that have already got the polls, and people who haven't got the polls probably won't turn up. So the more information we can disseminate after this meeting, the better, I think.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor Duffy?
Did you want to go first, Councillor Dillon? So your hand hold just before mine.
No, you can go.
Well, I will say, I remember when we first heard of the plans, and it was only to be on the westlands of the estate. I think a big part of this meeting, which I fully support, will be finding out exactly how much further they intend to put, how much further across the town they intend to put these. I think it's always important that there should be efforts to make sure people in the town can stay as well connected as possible. Although it does seem like there has been a lack of consent from people living in the areas. I think each should have received only about 2 to 3 weeks' notice with the letters sent out. So I think it'd be important to find out exactly where the push for these has come from.
They did say, apparently, I had a letter and we've objected, just as a matter of speech here, but and you had to have your, if you did object, you had to have it in by the 28th, which I thought was really quick because we hadn't had the letter very long, and we just sent it up with a blue line outside the house. I thought it was to do with water, to be honest with you, blue for water, you know, the water pipes and things. But no, okay, I've just thought I'd add that in case anybody else has had the same experience. Councillor Della, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I fully support Councillor Morris's motion. I think one of the issues is the style of communication which residents receive from Full Five themselves. I think that has become an issue, and that's been raised with me. And also, I think, as Councillor Duffy said, I think the key is to get communication out to where this is going to happen in the future, so residents don't get a 2-week notice saying they're going to have a poll outside their house. I think they should have more of an advance warning.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Della.
I fully support Councillor Ross's motion. I've moved house and I've got 2 letters, so I've got double experience with these full bribe people. I've noticed as well, when I lived on Oakley Road, there was a small A4 piece of paper stuck up to a pole that you could barely read, mentioning about full fibre before I got the letter, but I don't think anyone would have read it or been capable of reading it because it was pretty unintelligible to me at the time. And then I got a letter about a month or 2 after that was there. So maybe a bit of clarification again around how they actually go about, because that was probably a pre-warning to the letter to the area, but no one's probably going to read it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sinton, please.
Yeah, just one anecdotal here. I mean, it's interesting when I did this, looked up first on the internet, this Full Fibre, they asked me to put my postcode in. Inform me I was ready for this. We've not got the polls yet, down my close, but if you inform me I was ready for this, and it came with a great long list of offers rather. Now it just happens I'm actually getting close to the end of my broadband contract. See, it happens. And I was interested, and I also, not one of these firms that I heard of were making these offers. It wasn't BT and Sky and the big ones, and actually they're not ready for it yet. So, and I wanted to know more, and like we said before, that's what we need to know. And I think it's very important we do this for everybody in the community. So, please.
Thank you, Councillor Sinton. Anyone else? Councillor President?
Yeah, just to clarify that on both occasions, Full Fibre have turned up, dug the pathway up, no notice to any residents, turned up again to rectify their mistakes from digging up. Again, no notification.
This is recent.
They put Full Fibre in last year and dug up the pathways and said no notification at all to any of the residents. And then they came back a few weeks ago and dug up the some of the pathways because they hadn't done the job properly.
Wow.
Again, if I wasn't there, I wouldn't be able to at the house.
Yeah, thank you for that information. Yeah, we can note that. Thank you, Councillor Razor. Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to perhaps follow on that comment because I saw what's happening in the road where I live. Obviously, the fibre was being put in and everything else was done. And again, like Councillor said, I was just coming up to renew my contract and I was very interested to upgrade to full fibre. And I couldn't. So I couldn't really understand before this work's been done why it's not actually ready to upgrade. So again, I would certainly welcome a meeting where I can ask questions like this. Thank you, Councillor Morris.
So, Chairman, we've got a proposer, a seconder, so we need to take that to the vote as long as there's no other points.
Yeah, I think there was one more point.
Well, I was just going to clarify that looking into this, full fibre do not have to consult. They can just put the poles up and just carry it through. They choose, or they say they choose to consult, and it seems quite haphazard how they consult in what was your instance, Madam Mayor. I've heard a number of times that a letter comes saying you've got 28 days, but by the time they get the letter, 14 of the days have gone. So they see that through the date of the letter. So it doesn't seem to have complete transparency, and I think that annoys everybody. We know we can't always have things our way, but there has to be transparency and an understanding, and that's what we're trying to achieve with the motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Morris.
Sorry, can I just reiterate that I would actually completely like your motion for a change. I'm going to be definitely voting for it. But I mean, can we propose a motion that we basically send a letter maybe to our MP to ask him to ask the government to change their mind on the way this is implemented? Because that's the only way I can see it happening, because it's coming down from government level. And you say we can't do anything about it. So therefore, the letter or our displeasure must go to the top where it's coming from.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pass you on to Mark for that.
Well, I'm happy to take it. In a sense, I've already tried that, to be honest. And
yeah, but as a town council, it would be something a bit different.
But I think let's have the public meeting, and then, if necessary, then we can address it. Because I think what our MP will do is either he will come or he will send his PA, very likely to come along as well, to the meeting. They are interested in it as well. They're getting more letters than any of us in complaints about the full fibre.
Yeah, well, I would say that the next town council meeting is not till September now, is it? Is that right, Mark?
It wouldn't be a town council meeting, it'd be a public meeting.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about when, if we're going to put a motion to say to Mr. Huddleston that he needs to take this to government.
So 25th September.
Exactly, so that's quite a long time away for us to actually really push the issue hard. And how much is going to pass during that time? How many more streets are going to be getting those letters?
I would be happy that we, if councillors are happy, that we develop a motion to say we will also write to our MP to say that we have dissatisfaction on the way that this has been employed or placed, and question whether it's the right approach. I'm happy that we would develop it that way.
Thank you. Councillor.
Yes, as somebody who has a pole right outside my house, of which I had no notification whatsoever, and I still haven't had a notification, although it's there. They put the pole in, and that's their first time that I realised it was happening, when they were digging the hole. And they put the wire, the cable, through a tree, which means that as the tree develops, I wonder what effect that will have on the response. So I fully endorse this, and apparently the only reason we can use to have the pole moved is that the pole is blocking someone's access. And then I believe that it's the county council, but according to a council officer who was checking on these, he said that was the only thing you can object.
Did County Council, well, whichever name County Council, have to sign the plans off for the siting of the poles, but they will listen to full fibre or watch what full fibre are doing, because they're the ones who have the technical knowledge of the communication between the poles.
Yeah.
But I totally agree, some of the placing of the poles has really distressed residents. I've visited one elderly lady who's almost housebound, that from her lounge, she would have had a pole immediately in front of her garden. She spends near enough her time sitting in her lounge looking out of a window, and it was going to be obliterated by a pole. We've managed to get that pole removed, but I dare say we've upset another neighbour in the process of doing so. You know, it's a bit like car parking, you put up the yellow lines, you knock it on. And so I just think we need to have a far better understanding to support our residents accordingly.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. Thank you, Councillor Hopkins. One more point on this.
Well, actually, it's a point of order, really. I think Councillor Morris, as I understood, was proposing an amendment to the motion to include the additional wording to contact MP or central government, or both. And if that's the case, then I would be very happy to second that amendment, if Councillor Morris is happy to do that.
Yeah.
And obviously, we then need to vote on the amendment before voting on the main motion.
So, Councillor Brooks is correct on that. It's the motion as presented with the amendment to engage with the MP to write regarding the level of dissatisfaction from residents and the intention to take that to a public meeting in due course, which I understand is within the next few weeks.
The public meeting will be on, I don't know whether I printed it off, Mark. Yeah, I did. So, yeah, either I'm waiting on one stakeholder group, so it'll either be the 12th of July or the 26th of July at 7 o'clock in the community hall. And at the moment I have full fibre attending, county council attending, I'm just waiting on a reply from which end.
So if, are you proposing that, Councillor Morris, that as the amendment?
I'm proposing, well, as it is, but then with the amendment, secondly, a letter is sent through to our MP.
Yeah.
As you said, really, saying about how our residents are distressed, and we are questioning whether this is the right approach.
Through the chairman, if we can have a seconder for that.
Can we have a seconder for that,
Again, I'm
please?
very happy to second that.
And all in
Thank you,
favour?
Councillor Brooks.
Just to say,
Of the amendment.
I think Councillor Simpson's trying to speak.
so to say,
Yes.
as the person who seconded the original motion, I'm very much in favour of this amendment. That's what I can say that. So if you beat me to it, actually.
Sorry.
So I'm very much in favour of that. Obviously, making a difference.
And if I
My
may,
vision is that way.
if I may, again, just on the point of order.
Yeah.
An amendment must not negate the original motion and clearly it doesn't, so it is,
Yeah.
in my opinion, and obviously Councillor Hartman confirmed,
Yeah.
in my opinion, it is a valid amendment.
It's not good.
Thank you. Thank
So
you for your
proposed,
input.
seconded, and all in favour, as we've just taken. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, so the actual- So number 17, we'll continue with county council matters. Councillor Brooks, please.
In fact, I think Councillor Martin already sent a very comprehensive note there.
Yeah.
On that, which much better than I would have done. But I would just like to add one small, so we've got that obviously. But I would like to just add one small item to that, is that the libraries are mounting a summer challenge to help children between the ages of 4 and 11 learn to read and improve their reading skills. But to make this happen, they are looking for volunteers aged between 13 and 24, so I'm out, unfortunately, the age between 13 and 24, to help in the library, to help with these sessions. So again, if either anyone here, anyone watching, or any friends that you have might be interested, please disseminate that information and ask them to be in touch with the local library if they would like to help young children learn to read.
Thank you for that.
So,
Brooks?
Chairman, it's Councillor Morris's report has been circulated.
Yeah.
I think Councillor Morris just wanted to summarise it.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just a few points. Thank you for supporting the motion, by the way. Just on item 2, this should be in front of you, should the paper. But we are going to be having a stakeholder meeting about the Westlands Crossing. So in the background, there is movement on that. You'll know that I've got 340 odd signatures on an online petition supporting that something is done on that crossing at Westlands Roundabout, and there is movement forward in progressing it. Secondly, you'll know there's a fantastic wellbeing hub that's been created on the Westlands with an initiative from Westlands First School to support the community. I managed to speak with the Director of Public Health, the new Director of Public Health of the county, and the Cabinet Member for Health, and we went along to meet with the Wellbeing Hub, and we've now drawn together a stakeholder group to see how we can ensure sustainability for that hub for the future. The issue was that they've put all this effort in, they've changed some of the layout of the caretaker's cottage to be the hub, and then it was going to run out of money. So we've now put a plan in and for sustainability of the project and to try and bring more stakeholders on board. So I think that will be valuable to the community there. Three, you'll know that county councillors get a divisional fund of 10,000 on an annual basis to give to worthy causes in their community. So I've opened up the new year, and so I'm happy for Droitwich West projects to come forward to request the money. The first allocation I've made is £580 to support Droitwich Spa Disability Football Tournament. So that is happening as soon as the disability tournament, and it's a great initiative, really set up by one individual who used to have to go to West Brom to support his disability football, and he's now come back to Droitwich and running this through Droitwich Football Club. So it's a great initiative. For natural networks, you'll know my cabinet position in the county is the environment. So I'm really pleased that we've over the years run natural networks with great success, which is a partnership between the Wildlife Trust and Worcestershire County Council, and it was using European money. Now we all know where we are with Europe and European money. But what the government are doing is replacing that funding, which is good news. And so Worcestershire County Council with the Wildlife Trust can continue the great initiatives that have been brought forward. So we are looking to match local groups' initiatives in terms of funding to support any initiative on the environment. And you'll see some of the initiatives on the back there that we have achieved. 25,700 plus trees and shrubs, 71,500 bulbs and plug plants, etc. I won't read them all out, but that is a great success through community initiatives and organisation initiatives to help improvements to our environment, and natural networks is the main vehicle in achieving that. So please, we could do it with our parks if we brought them up, or we could match fund, and any other initiative we could look at in terms of natural networks. Some of the more inventive ones about streams and rivers to stop flooding, and the money can help towards that, have been really successful. So I would urge you to share that. I can give you more information if you'd like to help that crusade for improvement. Number 5, you'll know from previous communication with existing continuing council as well that I'm chairman of the Worcestershire Covenant for the Armed Forces at Worcestershire County Council. So I would like us to recognise that this week we start Armed Forces Week in recognition of our veterans and people who served in the war, but all the reservists and the cadets as well that support the Armed Forces group. I won't read out everything that's there, but it's a bit about the Armed Forces Covenant, which is a key vehicle to try and support veterans and the community. I've also handed out the Z card as well, with supports and the groups that we work with to try and support veterans locally and in the community. But I would like to ask the question, and I haven't put a motion for this, but would we all like to see, and could it happen, Town Clerk, Droitwich Town Council, could it sign up to the covenant? I know we only have a few employees, but it would still, I think, send a wider message to the Droitwich community that our town council has signed up to the covenant and recognises veterans and the veteran community. So again, if we're in agreement, I would like to see that. If I have to do a formal motion, I'm happy to put that forward.
Thank you, Councillor Morris.
We can do under that item as part. So if you'd like to place something now, we can do it. It is relevant. It is supported by county, so it would accord with that. The town council does have very strong links with the RBL, both locally and nationally, through the branch. And,
Yeah, but through everything we do, we recognise that. I know, and,
we just adopt it.
and you could support it, but it just shows that we are a supporter of it in a more formal basis.
Councillor Brooks, please.
Thank you. So that's a formal motion.
To adopt it.
And I would love to second that, but before I do so, Mr. Ramon, could I possibly just say a few words about why this is so important? And it was actually, I realised it's through my son, who has a GP practice in the Yorkshire Dales. And a veteran asked to transfer to his practice. Now, my son actually was in Iraq. He was in the army in Iraq. And he obviously went into Civvy Street and has his practice. But the veteran knew that my son had been in the forces, and he wanted to transfer to my son's practice so that he knew that a lot of the difficult things that veterans have to deal with, my son would understand as his GP. And that actually led to the initiative which has gone right across the country of veteran-friendly GP practices, which I'm very pleased to see. But again, that little or seemingly small thing meant a lot to somebody who actually served our country. So I think all of this is very important, and I'm very happy to second Councillor Morris's proposal.
Thank you.
So, Chairman, we have a proposer and a seconder, and it is really, as outlined in the first paragraph of that item, Worcestershire signed the Armed Forces Covenant in 2012, and its commitment to ensure that those who serve or who have served in the Armed Forces and their families are treated fairly. The Worcestershire Armed Forces Covenant partnership works collaboratively to strengthen local delivery of the Covenant, and in particular to support Worcestershire veterans who are experiencing problems either in transition or future years. So if members are happy to take that to the vote with that proposal and seconded for the Town Council to adopt the same.
Are we all happy with that?
All in favour?
All in favour, please.
Thank you. So that's carried, and I'll word that appropriately in the minutes.
Thank you.
So, was there any further questions or points on county matters for Councillor Morris or Councillor Brooks? No. So the next item, Chairman, was district council matters, and it's Councillor Duffy, and I think Councillor Sinton wanted to add something as well.
Okay, Councillor Duffy, please.
Thank you, and I apologise for getting the report sent in, so I'm not sure if anyone has a copy of it. But the main sort of work of Wychavon over the last year, obviously the elections were a huge part of Wychavon as the local authorities work. But since May last year, Wychavon have been running a food savvy campaign to help find out exactly what waste generally comes out of households and comes into the bins, which is one of Wychavon's largest carbon outputs. Finding that a third of the contents of the average black bin in Wychavon is food waste. So, keen to find ways to reduce it having to go into bins in the first place, and reduce future needs for food collections. Out of this, I think Wychavon have built a good base of stats to help target the best ways to help reduce food waste and reduce black bin waste, and have been putting out a series of communications and information for residents on how to reduce their food waste and reduce their black bin waste. As well as this, the Wychavon have informed that the energy support scheme is fast approaching its deadline for residents who don't use the mains network to heat or power their homes, those who have off-grid methods, but didn't benefit from the energy support schemes that were put out from the government over some of the large increases in energy prices. As well as this, Wychavon received exemplar awards for how they store and manage their address data within Wychavon. And a bit more focused and apparent to the town will be Wychavon's town centre accessibility audits, which they've done in each of the 3 main towns, which is happening on the 8th of June, where many with accessibility needs were invited to consult and inform Wychavon on how best to support the town centres and make them a welcome place for all and a safe place for all. As well as this, Wychavon have been updating their advisory panel co-optees, asking residents to volunteer to become co-opted members of the town centre panel, the communities panel, and the rural advisory and funding panel. Within our parks, there has also been a lot of work going on, especially in wet play areas, and the Gateway Park in Droitwich. Work has started on this site to replace the rotten timbers to the central area of the car park. And finally, on some of the work from Wychavon, this update coming out a bit later than than the previous updates, so added on to the end of this, quite last minute for me. Listening to the tenants, the changing face of social housing regulation in England, with social landlords having been given a year to improve the ways that tenants scrutinise their services as part of a tougher system of housing regulation. So from the 1st of April, councils and housing associations with more than 1,000 tenants were required to carry out annual surveys asking about not just the quality and safety of homes, but wider services, including ways that landlords handle complaints and the contribution they make to neighbourhood wellbeing. I'm sure many of us have or will receive communications from residents about Platform being our main housing association, and sometimes this frustration can be with the difficulties in communication that come with difficult times. And that about covers it as a bit of a summary.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Did you want to say?
Yes, just first of all, just two things from what you said before I come to what I was going to say. I find that's extraordinary about the food. The amount of food that's thrown away that's never even opened is quite remarkable. I mean, to look at that, and that's something I do hope works. I think that's very, very, very important, and let's hope that happens. And also the fact that I'm actually going to be on the community advisory panel, actually, as one of the volunteers, and the chairman is over there, so it'll be interesting. So, but the thing I was going to talk about, of course, was the place board, which those who don't know, the place board was set up in response to the prospectus that came out last year, and it's a group of business people locally. I was actually the interim chairman. I knew I was going to stop being chairman no matter what happened in May, so it wasn't any reflection on that. And at the meeting we had last week, the chairman is now Matt Nicol, the estate agent. It's a very lively committee, isn't it, Richard? Some very forthright discussions were being held. And the other day, on the meeting last week, the meeting was actually in St Andrews Square with the manager, which was very, very useful meeting, actually, talking about obviously the empty shops and also some of the ideas for moving forward with St Andrews. They're hoping to set up a hub rather in one of the shops, aren't they? So that was a very interesting. Obviously, the project with the Lido is continuing. This is a feasibility stage, and we're also looking at other feasibility features within the high street. Various people have got various things they're looking at. So that's moving forward. This is my last report on that because I won't be with them anymore. But just to let you know that is going to really move on forward, and hopefully Marco's there will report on what's happening. But some very exciting ideas. I know we've also got this business group, other business group as well. So there's a lot moving forward there. So it's my last district report for the time being. In addition to it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sinton.
Any final points on?
Yes. Any final points, please?
Just to update on, excuse me, the retail group. At the town meeting, I raised about a Chamber of Commerce in Droitwich that would be using to have dialogue and communication. So I took that forward. And thank you, Madam Mayor, for coming to both occasions, and Alex and David, and Bob as well. But where we're at now is that we do have a committee. So we have joint chairs, acting joint chairs. They just want to see an interim to get it established. Acting joint secretaries. We have a comms guy, and we're sourcing a treasurer. But we actually now have a committee. They want to be called at the moment George Business Association, DBA. And we have monthly dates to meet monthly to progress it and to develop it. But the whole idea there is that we have a far better communication with retail groups and small traders in the town. They will try and now recruit more retail groups and traders to be members and operate with the committee. And we have a good, diverse group on the committee as well to lead it. So I'm hopeful that it will be something that can benefit the town in the future and link into the other groups as well.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, I've had a drink, have I? It's only water. Councillor Morris, thank you. Councillor Brooks,
Just a
thank
quick
you.
comment on that one, just to say that, as I mentioned earlier, we're already looking to this group to be part of the input from the town for the neighbourhood development plan. So again, that's already given a voice. And also there were some questions raised at the meeting I went along to see about Christmas lights and so on. And again, that's something which I've been looking into with our town clerk. And again, I will be able to respond to the group. So again, this having a focal point is going to be very, very helpful. And I thank Councillor Morris for his work in setting it up.
Yeah, and I will share the details with the town clerk, because obviously we'll be able to work with the deputy town clerk.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Morris and Councillor Brooks.
So if there's no final point, Chairman, we can bring the meeting to a close.
Yes, if there are no final points, has anyone got anything else to say? I can use my gaggle. Gaggle waggle. And that's the meeting.
Well done, Matt. Did a great job there.
First time.
Excellent.